South Africa has for years been grappling with the challenge of students who cannot afford higher education, yet not disadvantaged enough to qualify for funding through government schemes. Well, the University of Pretoria has successfully rallied staff, alumni, donors and friends of the university to raise 100 million to make education accessible to students in the so-called missing middle. Rikus Delport is the Director of Institutional Advancement at the University of Pretoria and joins me now for this conversation. Rikus, appreciate your time. Just give us some idea as to why and how you came up with this idea to look after the missing middle.
Well, I think the what we call the UP Giving Campaign was an initiative that we started about 3 years ago, in 2022 in fact, and it was all aimed at raising funds for missing middle students and at the same time create a culture of giving back, a philanthropy culture within the institution. So it's really an opportunity for staff, students, alumni, and other donors to come together and see how we can help students from especially the missing middle to to fund their studies at the university. We've sort of discovered that it's on average about 20,000 Rand a month that it can cost a student at university these days, and very few students are actually able to afford that, especially the students who do not who cannot apply for NSFAS funding, for instance, where their household income is more than 350,000. So we've decided to target those students and see how we can help them and assist them with their studies because they do not, they're not allowed to apply for NSFAS funding.
Rikus, did you say an average 20,000 Rand a month?
Yeah, that's, more or less, that's a rough calculation. It could be more, depending on the type of program you're following. So, for instance, health sciences, it could even be more than that. So, if you include accommodation, books, and everything else that goes with studying at a university these days, that's more or less what it can cost you, yes.
Now, you've obviously enjoyed a measure of success. I think the target was to raise 100 million Rand by some time this month. How successful have you been, and where have the bulk of your benefactors come from?
Yeah, we've been very fortunate, yes. So when we launched the campaign in the first year, we said we wanted to raise 100 million of new money from new donors. So we didn't want to include the existing donations that we get from existing donors. We have a few regular donors that give us money over the year, that gave us money over the years, but we wanted to focus on new donors, so people that haven't donated to the university before. So in the first year, we managed to raise 31 million Rand, and it came from about 504 donors, which included individuals, companies, and other organizations. So people who haven't donated to the university before. In the second year, last year, 2023, we managed to raise 36 million, and that came from about 834 donors. So you could see that there was a real nice increase in the number of new donors coming to the party and helping our and assisting our students. So this year, at the moment where we stand currently, is we have about 15 million in the bank. So which means that we are on 82 million, and we need a little more than 18 million to get to our target of 100 million over the 3-year period.
I'm curious to know what your sales pitch was to these donors that have come out in their numbers, allowing you to raise 82 million Rand to date.
Yeah, I think, all donors are aware of the need of students, and the importance of what students can play and the impact that their donation can have on students and their lives. I'm not just talking about developing people here, but also about the contribution that those people or students eventually can make to the economy. I think everybody realized the importance of that. And given the history of our country and how important it is to make sure that we get more and more students, through the process of getting a tertiary education, it wasn't that difficult, although, we compete with a lot of other people out there wanting to raise money for very worthy causes. So, not always that easy, but we've been very fortunate and very lucky in getting more students. And it's all about creating awareness, I guess, making sure that people are aware of what we do and knowing that their donations will go to a worthy cause.
I'd imagine that you would have had a huge influx of students wanting to benefit from part of this 82 million that you've been able to raise. What are the processes of identifying those individuals that can benefit, the various vetting processes that they go through?
Yeah, so yeah, that's a very good question because we've seen in the past that students don't always know where to go to when they do need funding. So at the University of Pretoria, we have a financial aid office, which is all geared to helping students, especially those students who have now fallen into hard times for whatever reason, and then, they can't complete their studies. We've seen numerous cases of students coming to us to say that, they only have 3 more modules to complete and they just cannot afford their studies, and then they're considering dropping out. So those students, we all encourage them to come to the financial aid office. We have various campaigns, and this is also part of our campaign, again, to create awareness amongst our students so that they know that, we are there to help them. Obviously, we cannot help everybody, but we can certainly make a contribution to those students who are really struggling and are struggling to finish their studies. And we encourage them to come to us. I mean, this year, interestingly enough, we have a very interesting concept that we're introducing where we will be selling or raffling off a Volkswagen Beetle, a 1967 Beetle that was donated to the university by the family of a former vice chancellor and principal. In fact, he was the longest serving vice chancellor of the University of Pretoria. The Beetle is in perfect condition, and we will be raffling that off, and all of that money will go towards students to help students with their studies. And that's where students, again, come in and play an important role in contributing, especially students who have already finished their studies. They can now make a contribution to help a student who's currently struggling with their studies, struggling financially with their studies.
Dragos, appreciate your time. Thank you so much for speaking to us and giving us insights into the great work that you've done and obviously those amounts that you have been able to raise.